Hello everybody and welcome along to this week's edition of the Rebel Wide Ball. As somebody suggested last week that we should do a bit of podcasting. To that end, this particular production will appear on all the podcast platforms and we will see how that will work out. It's going to be another massive weekend on the Gaelic fields of Cork and I suppose throughout the country, if you like, with club action now slowly grinding to a conclusion. And in the Rebel County this week we're going to have the quarterfinals of the 5 main county championships. We'll also have some action from the divisions. We're going to include those because we received some criticism that maybe we were ignoring them. That certainly was not our intention. In terms of ladies football, another big weekend for them as it is for Camogie. In terms of what's happening throughout the country, we were kept, I suppose, somewhat entertained. Another resignation. This time it was a lady called Bridget O'Donoghue from Falta, Ireland, who had to step down as it was discovered that she had holidayed in Spain over the past while, and that followed on, as you remember, the chairman of that particular organisation had to step down. So Catherine Martin of the Green Party, the Minister for Tourism and a good few other things, has been busy mainly firing individuals rather than anything else. COVID, well, they tell us now that is here to stay and are talking about developing a plan, not alone in Ireland, but throughout Europe, titled Living with COVID. We see the numbers heading north once again, but despite that, they seem to be lifting the restrictions and we have the pubs opening up. There was a lot of commotion last week. We had Leo deciding that he'd head to the opposition benches and add his voice to the cause for the reopening of our pubs. Of course, when they will reopen, it will be the end of the one of the great recycling campaigns in this country, and that is getting rid of the EU's pizza boxes that were passed from one to the other in various pubs around the country over the past while. And also with the opening of pubs, I wonder what's going to happen with all these mobile chippers that were attached to many of the public houses and serving the culinary dishes that these pubs are treating their customers to. But anyway, we'll move on to Gaelic games and maybe we should stay there all the time. And we'll start with the Premier Scene of hurling here in Cork. We've 3 quarter-finals in a relegation match, just to mention to you. The first game in terms of the quarter-final is the meeting of the neighbours down in East Cork, and that's Éireann's Own and SARS, and they meet Saturday night in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And of course, this is a big one because, well, they're all big. The winners play Glen Rovers in the county semi-final. I can only see one winner. Glen Rovers, not Glen Rovers, my apologies. In this game, SARS, they have been impressive in their 3 matches so far, whereas Éireann's Own barely scrope over the line. Their draw the last day out against Newtown Shandrum just got them there. So I'm going for SARS on that one. The big quarter-final game, though, is the Southside Derby, if you like, between Blackrock and Douglas. And, you know, Blackrock, what the team, they still are a good team. They have to be, then they win all their matches. And, you know, they had great success at underage and minor level a couple of years ago. So they're going to pose a serious opposition for Douglas. And Douglas, you know, they were a bit hot and cold at the start, but their last victory over Middleton, you know, proved a lot of the doubters wrong, if you like, particularly the way they held on to a 1-point lead coming down the home straight when a draw would have done Middleton in that night. And I think they showed bottling determination that we mightn't have associated with Douglas teams in the past. I think if their main players can stay injury-free, I would fancy them for that one. That game goes on Sunday at 2 o'clock. I think that game is in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And later that evening, then we have Napiershig and UCC. That game goes on in Páirc Uí Rinn. And UCC, I suppose, would be favourites in some people's eyes because of the fact they beat Imokilly, the county champions of the past 3 years, in their last game. But you must remember that Imokilly were, you know, like they were missing 6 or 7 players. And they certainly weren't the side that they were a couple of years ago. So UCC, good and all as they are, I still would have a slight fancy here for Napiershig. They were disappointing, yes, after defeating the Bears. And of course, I suppose maybe that gave them maybe some false hope. But I think they have a good chance there. And of course, the winners of those 2 quarterfinals, the Sunday quarterfinals, will meet in the semi-final. Then we move on to the Scenery Championship again. Great championship, very even sides, and we've 2 quarterfinals, and we've a meeting of 2 teams that wouldn't be known for their genteel qualities, and that's Newcestown and Bride Rovers. They play Sunday in Blarney, and Town, who are now the kings of the dual mandate, going so well in hurling and football. Will they be favourites here against Bright Rovers? I'm not too sure. This is their level. They're two evenly matched sides. I suppose the fact that Town have been doing so well in both codes that I'd have a slight fancy for them there. The other game in that particular competition is that you have Cork playing Bandon, and here, I think that I'd go for Cork in that one. That game goes on at 4 o'clock in coach for that is, and the winners here, Cork won all their games in this championship, whereas Bandon, they drew one and they lost one, and they won a game. Obviously, the defeat against Charleville was a huge loss to them, but they're a good side, and remember that in the winners here, the two quarterfinal winners will play Father O'Neill's and Charleville, and that they certainly will be, they'll be serious opposition for no matter who wins those two quarterfinals. And then the relegation playoff there, I'd have a fancy there for Kilworth against Killa. In that one, I think Kilworth have been, despite the fact that both of them have lost their matches, I still think the Kilworth are a slightly better side. In the Premier Intermediate Hurling, we have great matches here again. The mid-court derby between Blarney and Ballincollig, and I think Blarney are the better side, even though they were disappointing. They got a bit of a hammering against Castlelyons, but and Ballincollig, I suppose, have been building slowly after losing their first round match. I think it was to Watergrass Hill. They've beaten Valley Rovers and beaten Ballinhassig. So yeah, it will be that'll be a good enough game, and the winners they play Carrigaline in the semi-final, and then the other quarter-final is Watergrass Hill and Courcey Rovers. And Courcey Rovers, these are the Houdini Act, the team that went into the third round pointless, having lost their two matches, produced a massive performance, scoring 1 goal and 22 points. I think it was against Ahada, and they now have a really good chance. Watergrass Hill have won all of their matches, and the winners here play Castlelyons. There will be two, no doubt about it, there'll be two good games in that game, both of them going on Saturday, one in Porkyrinn and the other in Ballyanley. And the relegation battle here is between Blackrock's second team and Valley Rovers. That's the game that kicks off this weekend, if you like. It takes place on this Friday night, and I suppose Valley Rovers, the fact that they are a first team, you'd expect them to be the slight favourites in that one. Moving on to the Intermediate A Hurling Championship, and again, two quarterfinals here. Clodove versus Sars and Ovens on Saturday, with the winners to play Kildare. And, despite the fact it's the Sars second team, because this club, operates at the higher level in terms of Premier 1 and Premier 2 hurling down along the ages, the players that play in this team are serious operators. So it's a close match. We'll just probably favour Clodove in that they are the first team in their club, and it depends. Maybe Sars might, be holding a player back or use a player in the senior side, and so it'll be an interesting game. I think Ahabollock might have too much for Mayfield in the other. They have won their 3 matches in the other quarter final, and the winners there play Aerogue, and I think Aerogue are the favourites, but we'll wait. They'll have to wait for this weekend's over before they find out who they're going to be playing in those semi-finals. And in terms of that relegation, because this is the Intermediate A Hurling, 2 teams are going to be relegated from the 3, and we've the first of the round robin games in that relegation, where Meelan play Glen Rovers. That game goes on Saturday in Glenhan. The other team involved, Arragadine Rangers. It's, Meelan have been, disappointing by their standards this year. Glen Rovers, they've been better other years, this second team, but I just have a slight fancy for Meelan, but nothing major. And this is not the end, the fact that there's a round robin, there'll be other games involved in it. In the lower intermediate, as it's called, I call it the Death Row Championship, in that you know the story here. The teams in here, they have 2 choices, they have 2 chances. Well, they have 2 choices. Well, they win it this year or win it next year, or they're out the gap. And then Saturday, we have Milford playing Russell Rovers. That game going on, and the both quarterfinals actually, and the relegation game here are all on at 5 o'clock on Saturday. Russell Rovers, as they play Milford. I have a slight fancy for them. Nothing major now. Both of them have been kind of hot and cold in their campaign so far. Russell Rovers, they've been the king of the draws. They 2 draws, and then they gave a right hammering to Barry Rowe when they had to. Whereas the Milford men, the men from North Cork, they lost to Castlemartyr, drew with Finbars and beat Ballymartle. The other match in it is Tracton versus Kilbrittain, and that game goes on in Bandon. And Tracton won 2 of their 3 matches, whereas Kilbrittain were involved in 2 draws and then a big win the last day against Ballygavin. And because of that, we just make them slight favourites, shall we say. The relegation match here, well, it's between Barryroe and Ballymartle, and even though that Barryroe haven't had a great season, it's Ballymartle's second team, and I still fancy them. And if you remember back, Barryroe were involved in a bit of a battle last season, and they got over that one. So yeah, some major matches there. And then we have, moving on to the divisions, and this is our first visit to the divisions, if you like. In the Camogie division, there's 2 games in the quarter-final of the Junior A football. This is one of the best championships of any division, the Junior A football in West Cork. And we've Ballinascarthy playing Arradeen Rangers there. Both games, I think, are on at 5:45. Ballinascarthy got to the final last year. They were beaten by St. James's, and people from this neck of the woods or down around that part of West Cork will remember St. James's winning that championship for the very, very first time in their history, getting to the final for the first time in their history. But anyway, they beat Ballinascarthy. I think Ballinascarthy will get over Arradeen Rangers there, and Kilmackabee and Clonakilty play in another quarter-final. The other 2 quarter-finals will be played next week, but Kilmackabee, they're a real good junior side, and probably they'll be sick and tired of people telling them that they're a tad unlucky not to have won a county. But look, they're playing next. This game is an important one for them. I still fancy them to get over that. And of course, I should have mentioned that there's a slight change in that all the divisional winners this year are the only ones from the division going into the county championship. For the past couple of years, 2 or 3 years, I think, we had the winners and the runners-up. That won't be happening. So we move to Avondhu, and 'tis a Junior A hurling semi-final day. On Sunday at 3 o'clock, we have Clyde playing Harbour Rovers. Harbour Rovers, maybe I might be slightly wrong about this, but they are around the Glanmort area, and they're probably Glanmort in football, and Harbour Rovers. God, I'm really bluffing here now. But anyway, I would think that Clyde, they're out of the football, and the hurling is a big part of their club as well. They'll probably be better known as a football side, but I think Clyde will get over that one. And Kilshannig, another, I was going to say footballing club, another dual club that maybe is slightly better at the big ball. They play Ballygiblin, and Ballygiblin, as far as I know, are the hurling side of Mitchelstown, or maybe Mitchelstown is the football side of Ballygiblin, and that game goes on in Mallow. And I do a fancy for Ballygiblin, so Ballygiblin and Clyde maybe to contest the Avondhu Junior Hurling Championship. And then in O'Killy, could this be Liscool's big day? They've never won the championship, the Junior Hurling Championship. Will they go to Middleton on Sunday? And it is a 2:30 throw-in where they play Carricknavar. And like the East Cork Junior Hurling Championship is a series championship, and many of the teams that win it go on and win the county championship. And of course, this year the junior county champions in hurling won't be moving up one grade. They're not going up into the Death Row Championship. They're actually skipping a grade and going into the intermediate A. So there's a huge incentive to win it. But Liscool, I think, maybe slight favourites there. In Beara, and not an awful lot in terms of activity happens in Beara, because of the fact that they are so small number of clubs, underage, yes, and they do a lot of work with the people that they have, which is so densely populated. And there's only one major final going to be in the division this year, and that's a Junior B Championship. No Junior A Championship there, because only one team, and that's Orden, and they are the Beara representatives in the county championship. So yes, the Junior B Championship down there is going to be their main event, and that game goes on, I think it's on Sunday, and between Glengariff and Garnish. And Garnish were a couple of years ago playing in, they were a junior team up, Junior A up to last year. They took the decision because they're struggling big time with numbers. I still fancied them to get over Glengarriff and that. In Shandoon, we have a Junior A Championship hurling semi-final, and that game goes on Sunday, and that's Passage versus St. Vincent's, and Passage are doubly involved. Their footballers play Douglas during the week. Next week, that is in the Junior A football semi-final. And because St. Vincent's are out of the football, and they're not going to be involved in any relegation, and they've been impressive enough in the City Championship, I think I'd have a slight fancy for them there. And moving on to the Muskerry Junior A Hurling Championship semi-finals, and here it's a case of 2 second teams and 2 first teams. We've Kilmichael playing in Ascara, and I think that Kilmichael would be the side to fancy here. And in the other semi-final, that game goes on in Clodove on Sunday at 3 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock we have Ballinora playing Ballincollig. And Ballinora have won this championship a few times in the past couple of years, and I still fancy them to get over Ballincollig. But again, somebody made the point that a lot of the clubs, we'll say the top clubs in Muskerry, like the Blarneys and the Niscara and Ballincollig, that their young players are so used to playing a higher grade of hurling that when they come to play in the junior championship, even though they're second team, that they can be a formidable opposition. But I'd still go for Blarney that. And in Carrickdown then we have the Junior A Championship hurling semi-finals again, and we have Ballinhassig playing Shamrocks. That game goes on at 2 o'clock. And Ballinhassig in the past, this team had been playing in the lower intermediate or the intermediate championship in Cork. They're back down, and a couple of years ago they were winning this competition easily, so I think they'd be slightly fancied there. And I expect maybe the Kinsale, when they go to Belgooley, that they'll get over Corsi Rovers in the other semi-final. Now in ladies football, we've got 3 finals, I think it is, and 2 quarter-finals. The quarter-finals of the Junior E Football Championship. Those quarter-finals actually take place on Sunday, and to the clubs involved in them, these are huge matches. Naomh Fionn-Barra, they're around the Ballingeary area. Now, I don't know, do they have Ivleary girls playing with them or not? I should have checked that out now, really. But anyway, they play Kilshannig. That game goes on in Ballingeary, and then Macroom play Knocknagree, and that game goes on in Macroom. So seemingly that if you could get Macroom and Naomh Fionn-Barra into a final, that would be fairly competitive for those neighbouring sides. But anyway, on Friday night, first of all, we have the Senior B final, and that game goes on in Nemo Rangers at 8 o'clock between St. Val's and Inch Rovers. And St. Val's in the past, and of course Inch Rovers as well, were dining at the higher table of the Senior A. So this is a big match for them. And somebody said to me during the week, this could be a battle between Breed Stack, who now plays with St. Val's, versus Angela Walsh, who's a great warrior for the Inch Rovers. On Saturday, there's a double header in CIT, and this is always, well, of course, I was going to say it was always a great day out. It will be a great day out, but there was always huge crowds at these matches because it culminated in the Senior A final, and that'll be the case here as well. But the first game is in the Junior D final between Rockbawn and St. Michael's, and Rockbawn were beaten in last year's final. St. Michael's, who by the way are coached or have a Kerry lady on their coaching staff, Margaret Golden, who seemingly won an All-Ireland medal with Kerry in her day. But St. Michael's won the E final last year, so it'll be interesting now to see how they get on there. And then of course the big match is Mourneabbey versus West Cork, and I suppose at this Mourneabbey, I think, are going for their 7th title in a row, and West Cork, this is their 3rd time, I think, appearing in a final. They played earlier on this year, and I think it was a great match, and they drew. But I think Mourneabbey, you'd have to fancy, wouldn't you have to fancy them? I know they're missing Noel Healy, who was the dub that was with them last year. She's gone back to Dublin, but they're still a series outfit. And it may come down to a couple series player matchups, if you like. Melissa Duggan, but by the way, the West Cork goes from Kinsale to the tip of the Beara Peninsula, so they have a lot of good players. Mourneabbey have some players maybe from outside their area as well, but they're a real club ethos about this Mourneabbey side, and anybody that follows ladies football will know all about them. But the last day in their respective semi-finals, where I think was West Cork beat Airog and I'm trying to think now, Mourneabbey defeated. They had the scoring exploits of two players in particular caught the eye in that day. And that Fiona Keating, she got 5 goals. And you'd imagine if you score 5 goals in county semi-final, nobody else is going to equal that. But it was, and Laura Fitzgerald, and I reckon that despite the fact that, that there are so many other great players on that Mourneabbey side, this particular lady, when she's there, when she's injury-free, she contributes so much to the North Cork girls' performance, and she got 5 goals and 4 bidings that day in the semi-final. So I suppose how Fiona Keating is Matt, and maybe Laura Fitzgerald, but it's always a great occasion. And again, like it goes without saying, it's a pity that Crows can't get in, and they possibly will not get into this one when it's played in that venue. By the way, there's a lot of venues out there where an odd individual, shall we say, have been turning up. So that's the ladies' football, and again, it's great that there's serious interest, if you like, in terms of ladies' sports. And I saw earlier somewhere today that the way at this time of year the Premier League is going to be starting their talking about transfers, and this occasion I think there's Denise O'Sullivan, the Cork soccer player. There was some article where she had transferred to Brighton, and like before anything like that would have caught the news a couple of years ago. So well done, and it's great that ladies' sports are getting some publicity. They still have a long way to go. Anyway, moving on to Camogie, and again here we're going to have some massive matches, all going to be played in the Castle Road complex, and the intermediate we have the 2 semi-finals, and over the past couple of years this competition has been brilliant, and this year is going to be no different, I would imagine. Inniskeen play Father O'Neill's, and these games by the way are on Saturday, and I have to fancy Inniskeen in that they have climbed up that hill so often, and just when the summit is about to be reached, they falter a little bit. They've been defeated in finals, but I think, I'll give them the hesitant nod to get over Father O'Neill's. And then we have Ahabullogue and Ballyhay. Ballyhay winning the junior championship, I think, was last year, but Ahabullogue are a serious tough side, and I would imagine that they are going to make serious inroads in that one. And then in the senior championship, we've got the quarter-final game that was postponed last week. Well, that game goes ahead between Inniscarra and Glen Rovers at 2 o'clock on Sunday, and then at 5 o'clock we've the semi-final between 2 real informed teams, Corsie Rovers and Douglas. And I just go with Corsie Rovers here. Remember now, they'll have Fiona Keating will be playing football the day before, if you like, with West Cork, but still I think the Corsie Rovers would be the side favourite to go through there. So my friends, that's it for this week. Take care, and hopefully we'll meet you all again next week.